Part 70. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 691. Every presidential candidate will propose many policies to benefit the people in order to gain more support among the people. For example, improving welfare policies, supporting legal immigration, supporting gay marriage, and free medical care and social security are all very suitable entry points. Of course, all the wishes put forward are good wishes, and even if half of them can be realized during the term of office, it can be regarded as a great success. Zhou Yan made promises to voters, increase education funding and strengthen judicial reform. During his tenure as a senator, he has been committed to optimizing the selection of judicial talents. The small improvement of the judicial examination form is one of the results of his efforts over the years. That's why the host specifically asked him this question. Of course, I saw the news. Zhou Yan sat on the coffee-colored sofa with steady eyes and a gentle smile. She is indeed beautiful. I am honored that I look a little like this most beautiful candidate. A little humor can make him appear approachable and bring voters closer to the TV, all of which are small tricks in the campaign. The host laughed. Yes, Mr. Zhou, you are indeed very handsome. Zhou Yan also smiled, and after laughing, he gave a formal answer, I am very pleased to be commended by her. This shows that our reform is successful and our efforts are in the right direction. The judiciary needs to inject fresh ideas. These young people gave me hope, and I believe that the vitality of these young people will help the judicial environment become more transparent and fair in the future. The talk show is a live broadcast, and it appeared on TV that night. Zhou Yan's wife, Chen Kailing, did not miss this talk show. Seeing her husband's natural and sincere performance in front of the camera, she showed a slight smile on her face, becoming more demure and dignified. At present, her husband's support rate is very favorable, and she believes that after the broadcast of this program, the support rate will continue to rise. Zhou Yan's election is the biggest event of the Zhou family, and everyone in the family is paying attention. What occasions did Zhou Yan attend? What programs did he participate in? How to publicize his ideas? How to win the hearts of the people? They would carefully study and consider everything. Chen Kailing recorded the TV programs so that her husband could watch them when she came back, and then analyzed the deficiencies with the operation team. During the recording, Ning Yue came back and happened to see Muzi's face on the TV screen. Because the host mentioned the most beautiful judicial examinee, the director interrupted this short video of Muzi during the chat. Ning Yue showed disgust in her eyes, and subconsciously asked, Auntie, why are you looking at this? Her tone was indifferent. Chen Kailing didn't hear the disgust in it, and replied with a smile, I was watching your uncle's interview just now. Look, this girl really looks a bit like him. Is there? I don't think it looks like it. Ning Yue frowned and said, this person is just a joke. Only then did Chen Kailing realize Ning Yue's displeasure, and turned to look at her strangely. What's wrong? Yue, do you know this girl? I met a few times when I went to Qingjiang. Ning Yue commented harshly. In order to curry favor with the rich and powerful, I introduced lawyers to file a lawsuit, and I ran around everywhere. Recently, because I was greedy for compensation, I helped a prostitute fight the lawsuit. Accusing the other party of rape is really disgusting. Chen Kailing opened her eyes wide in astonishment. There is such a thing. Yes, Ning Yue thought of those experiences in Qingjiang City, feeling irritable, and went upstairs to her room. Chen Kailing looked back and watched TV, always feeling unbelievable. On the TV, Muzi's eyes are clear and bright, full of confidence and vigor. Muzi and her husband look a bit similar, so Chen Kailing's first impression of Muzi is actually very good. I didn't expect Ning Yue to have such an evaluation. Chen Kailing was puzzled. If it was for money, why bother to sue prostitutes? Isn't it easier to go to court for the rich? Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, Your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 692. In the evening, when Sidu Yan returned home, he was immediately called to the study by his father. Sidu Yan's grandfather served as president for 3 consecutive terms. His father never served as president, but he was also one of the important cabinet members. He was one step away from that position. Although he has retired now, on the road of Sidu Yan's election, he can give many valuable suggestions. The father and son were talking about today's talk show in the study room. Mr. Sidu mentioned several places. Everyone has children, and education is the top priority of a country. Next time we encounter this situation, we can expand the topic appropriately. Mention your views on education, don't be influenced by the host's rhythm. Sidu Yan nodded in agreement. Chen Kailing asked the servant to prepare tea and snacks and bring them in. The father and son talked for a while, and Mr. Sidu asked Sidu Yan to go to rest. There was an important speech waiting for him tomorrow. Chen Kailing had asked the servant to put hot water on. Sidu Yan took a bath and changed clothes, drank a cup of calming tea, and then rested in bed. He was tired, but it was difficult to fall asleep, and he couldn't help sighing while tossing and turning. Did you have a nervous breakdown recently? Chen Kailing noticed that her husband was not asleep, and said softly, do you want to cut down on the next campaign speeches? Sidu Yan sighed and shook his head. Every speech is important, don't worry, it's almost the end. Get up. Chen Kailing pushed him lightly, I'll massage your head for you. Sidu Yan hummed, and Chen Kailing reached out to turn on the bedside lamp, and gently massaged Sidu Yan's temples. The couple sat on the bed, talking with each other. Chen Kailing chatted with Sidu Yan, the most beautiful judicial candidate. Yue Wei seems to dislike her very much, and I don't know if she had conflicts with her when she was in Xinjiang. Speaking of Xinjiang, Sidu Yan opened his eyes and asked, is there any reply from the Gu family? Chen Kailing said, Mr. Gu's most important thing is Gu Liang. If there is a marriage, Gu Liang is the best candidate, but I see what the other party means. It seems that he cares about Yue Wei's identity, and the recommended candidate is another young master of the Gu family. I also know that although we love her, outsiders don't know the reason and still think she is just our niece. The marriage is just to make the cooperation more stable, not a necessary measure. It depends on Yue Wei's intentions. If she disagrees, we don't force her. Sidu Yan is very open-minded in this matter. Yue Wei didn't say anything, I'll ask her some other day. Chen Kailing paused for a moment, and then said, Yue Wei said, that girl named Mu Zi specializes in litigation in Xinjiang. I checked all of a sudden, a few strange cases were actually handled. Really? That kid can go to court? Sidu Yan smiled slightly, no wonder he took part in the judicial examination at such a young age, the younger generation is awesome. He asked curiously again, what strange case did you handle? On the internet, there is very limited information about Mu Zi, but the case of a prostitute suing the rich and the less mentioned by Ning Yue Wei is a recent gossip that people talk about. Place. If you find Ming Jun Law Firm, you will find the headlines of Chu Ming Jun. The serial killing of children, the strange death of a model, the haunted Doshui village, these cases have made Ming Jun Law Firm famous. I want to try to help my brother again, Chen Kailing said hesitantly. Sidu Yan was silent when he heard the words. After a long while, he held Chen Kailing's hand and persuaded him, Kailing, I know you have a lot on your mind about this matter, but your brother's case has been closed, and he has pleaded guilty. As long as you behave in it well, there is still a chance of commutation, and it will come out soon. But Chen Kailing hesitated to speak. Sidu Yan patted her hand lightly, go to sleep, you have also been tired these days. The lights went out and the room returned to darkness. Chen Kailing opened her eyes in the darkness, thinking, if Ming Jun Law Firm is really so magical, it will definitely help my brother reverse the case. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 693. There is another person who can't sleep at night, and that is Ningyue. She didn't expect that Muzi actually accepted Qin Lu's case. In fact, after returning to Jingling, Ningyue's disgust towards Muzi has gradually diminished over time. It was not a deep hatred in the first place, but when they met at the time, it happened that they were not pleasing to the eye, so they wanted to punish him. After that, Ningyue focused on her studies and socializing every day, and attended banquets from time to time. She had long forgotten about Muzi. She even thought with a sense of superiority, why bother to affect her mood for the sake of those poor ants? Once Situyan is successfully elected as the president, her worth will rise, and the people she wants to make friends with are all the children of political leaders from various countries, so why would she waste time and energy on a little Muzi? But Ningyue didn't expect that Muzi came to Jingling. Muzi not only came, but also took Qin Lu's case. I really don't know how to live or die. Do you think this is Xinjiang? The procuratorate in Jingling will not let this kind of outsider mess around. Tomorrow is the day of the court trial, Ningyue was thinking, should I go and see how Muzi is ashamed? But the cabinet minister's son has been pursuing her recently and asked her to go to the concert tomorrow, and Ningyue didn't want to miss the appointment. Although during the trip to Xinjiang, Guliang's handsomeness and demeanor moved her heart very much, but Ningyue was used to being sought after by others, and Guliang's performance was obviously too indifferent in Ningyue's opinion. What's more, she enjoys her current life, being aloof and attracting everyone's attention, unless she can also receive this honor in Xinjiang, otherwise, Ningyue really doesn't want to marry. Ningyue lay on the bed, thinking silently, I don't need to do anything at all, the Zhao family will vent their anger on me. The next day, Muzi saw Qin Lu again. Chu Mingjun brought a trainee lawyer and witness Zhang Rong, a total of 5 people. After introducing each other's identities, Chu Mingjun roughly explained the current situation to Muzi. The Zhao family hired an old-fashioned law firm with a reputation in Jingling. They refused to accept mediation and insisted that it was blackmail. Under normal circumstances, a wealthy family will first choose to mediate when encountering such a thing, so as to minimize the damage to their reputation. However, Qin Lu's accusation indirectly reveals that Zhao Jiawei has abusive tendencies. In order to preserve the reputation of young Master Zhao and not affect future marriages, the Zhao family's lawyers will show a tough stance, turning the defense into an offense, believing that Qin Lu is distorting the facts and intentionally blackmailing her. The judge in this case is a female judge. Before becoming a judge, she had strongly advocated the banning of the sex industry, which may be somewhat disadvantageous to us. Chu Mingjun lowered his voice and discussed with Muzi. The more such high-ranking women have encountered gender discrimination and various injustices, they will hate those women who are willing to degenerate, and think that it is the existence of these women that makes it difficult for them to walk on the road to feminism. Therefore, the female judge is likely to have prejudice against Qin Lu because of her special occupation. This is unavoidable. Judges are also human beings with emotions and desires. Even if they were male judges, there was no guarantee that they would not despise Qin Lu. Treat with a normal mind, as long as there are reasons and evidence, you are not afraid of being overturned by the other party. Muzi said, summon witnesses first, and then produce evidence. Even if the other party wants to find fault, they should only start with the transaction relationship. After she finished speaking, she took another look at Qin Lu and asked, why are you dressed so plainly today? Qin Lu was wearing a gray dress today, no makeup was applied on her face, and her curly hair was neatly coiled up, like a white-collar worker in an office. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 694. Lawyer Chu said it would be better to wear it like this. Qin Lu touched her face, feeling uncomfortable. Dress conservatively to avoid giving the judge and jury a frivolous impression. Muzi carefully looked at Qin Lu's face and said, but it's a bit too much to be completely naked, so let's put on some makeup. Too much is too much, she is obviously a prostitute, if she deliberately dresses up pure and innocent, it will be disgusting. After Muzi explained, Qin Lu and Zhang Rong went to the bathroom to touch up their makeup. People came in one after another in the courtroom. For some reason, Muzi suddenly felt strange, as if someone was watching her from behind. She turned and looked around, but only saw some strange faces. Is it an illusion? The trial started soon, and Muzi turned her attention back to the case. She sat next to Chu Mingjun with another trainee lawyer as his assistant lawyer. Zhao Jiawai's defense lawyer is a middle-aged man surnamed Meng, wearing glasses and looking very shrewd. Since Chu Mingjun was the plaintiff, Chu Mingjun spoke first. At 3 p.m. on July 30th, the defendant Zhao Jiawai and two friends met in a villa on Fushun Road, and purchased special services from the nightclub. The foreman of the nightclub notified my client, Ms. Qin Lu, to go to the villa. Qin Lu refused, and the foreman lied to Qin Lu, claiming that the client this time was only Zhao Jiawai's friend, not Zhao Jiawai, but when Qin Lu arrived at the villa, Zhao Jiawai forcibly detained her and sexually assaulted and abused her. Chu Mingjun explained the facts of the case clearly, and made a request. We request the court to arrest the defendant Zhao Jiawai for the crime of rape, and claim a total of 3.5 million for medical expenses and mental damage. The other party's lawyer said, we do not accept this accusation. My client, Mr. Zhao Jiawai, only accepted the services of Ms. Qin Lu that day. Both parties are free to do business as usual. The other party's accusation is groundless and completely malicious extortion. The female judge glanced at the opposing lawyer, and said expressionlessly, the defense lawyer, please be careful with your words. Before the case is settled, does claiming to be blackmailed constitute a crime of defamation? Lawyer Meng's face was slightly stiff, and his eyes were a little unhappy, and he said depressedly, yes, Your Honor, I will pay attention. It seems that although the judge didn't have a good impression of Qin Lu, he didn't even have a good impression of the rich young master who was spending his days and nights. Chu Mingjun applied to call the first witness, Zhang Rong. Zhang Rong is a waiter who works in this nightclub with Qin Lu. On the day of the incident, Qin Lu was massacred and seriously injured. Zhao Jiawai patted his ass and left after playing. Qin Lu called Zhang Rong for help. Seeing Qin Lu's miserable state, Zhang Rong scolded Zhao Jiawai for being a beast, and sent Qin Lu to the hospital, called the police, and made notes. It's just that Zhao Jiawai exonerated himself on the grounds that he had given money. The two rich young masters who were also in the villa at the time also said that Qin Lu sold it voluntarily, but the case was not filed in the end. Miss Zhang Rong, on the day of the incident, when you saw Miss Qin Lu, she was covered in bruises and couldn't even stand up by herself. You sent her to the hospital and called the police for her, isn't that right? Chu Mingjun asked. Zhang Rong nodded, yes. Do you still remember what Miss Qin Lu said at that time? Chu Mingjun continued to ask, did she tell you that she was raped by Zhao Jiawai? Zhang Rong looked at Qin Lu who was sitting on the table, showing hesitation. Facing the rich, they were originally in a disadvantaged position, and it was especially difficult to provide evidence. Now Zhang Rong is the only witness left. But Zhang Rong withdrew her gaze and lowered her head slightly. No, she said, Qin Lu told me that the sale is not worth it. The money Zhao Jiawai gave is not even enough for the medical expenses. Zhao Jiawai must bleed again. When the voice fell, the court was in an uproar. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 695. Zhang Rong's testimony not only failed to prove that Qin Lu was raped, but also confirmed what the other party said, that Qin Lu intended to blackmail. Chu Mingjun's complexion changed drastically, his expression turned serious, and he asked again emphatically, "Miss Zhang Rong, did Miss Qin Lu tell you that she was raped by Zhao Jia? How is this possible?" Zhang Rong shook her head lightly. "The foreman has already made it very clear what to do before going. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to go. Now that you have gone, of course it means that you are willing." Zhang Rong, as the plaintiff's witness, turned her back in court and gave testimony against the plaintiff. Anyone who saw this situation would find it abnormal. The judge also felt that something was wrong, looked at Zhang Rong solemnly, and said, "Witness, please provide your testimony truthfully. If you give false testimony or conceal criminal evidence, you will be held legally responsible." "Yes, Your Honor." Zhang Rong lowered her head and replied, "I'm telling the truth. It's impossible for Qin Lu to be raped, because I was there when the incident happened." Chu Mingjun was stunned. "Are you there? You mean, you witnessed the whole process?" "Yes, because what Mr. Zhao Jia ordered that day was a full set plus double flight, and Qin Lu and I provided services for Mr. Zhao Jia. Qin Lu on the seat stood up abruptly, staring at Zhang Rong on the witness stand with a livid face, trembling with anger. Mu Ziyi grabbed her forearm calmly and pressed Qin Lu down with great strength. The judge asked, "What is shuangfei?" Zhang Rong replied, "It means that two people provide services together to meet any requirements of customers." Chu Mingjun asked unwillingly, "Any request? Could it be that as long as you pay a little money, you can unscrupulously injure your body and torture a person to pieces?" Zhang Rong turned her face away uncomfortably, not looking into Chu Mingjun's eyes, and replied softly, "Mister, there are, but they don't make much money." Chu Mingjun was dumbfounded, not knowing how to proceed with the questioning. The only witness, beat them up and sold them out. If there were indeed two women serving a man together in the room at that time, obviously it would not constitute an act of violence, and the charge could not be established. "I didn't." Qin Lu on the seat almost collapsed. She held Mu Ziyi's hand tightly, her eyes were bloodshot. "She's lying. Zhao Jia and I were the only ones in the room at that time." Mu Ziyi frowned, glanced at the lawyer in the dock from the corner of her eye, and saw the smug look in the other party's eyes. She knew it. Zhang Rong has already been bribed by them. "Don't worry." Mu Ziyi withdrew his gaze and stared indifferently at the front. "It's useless to be anxious now. Zhao Jia's people should have some other tricks. Let's take a look first." Qin Lu also understood that this was not the time to make a scene, so she bit her lip tightly and continued to watch Chu Mingjun's questioning. Chu Mingjun asked nothing. The witness has already turned his back on the truth. If he continues to ask, he is afraid that he will be asked more unfavorable testimony against Qin Lu. At this time, the opposing lawyer filed an application to call new witnesses in court. "Your Honor, this witness will prove that Ms. Qin Lu's prosecution against my client is a conspiracy." "A false accusation," Lawyer Meng said firmly. The judge allowed new witnesses to testify. As soon as that person came out, Qin Lu couldn't control her emotions any longer. She got up angrily and shouted, "You framed me. How many benefits Zhao Jia has given you? You have harmed me like this." Sister Qin, who appeared in court, turned her head guiltily, pursed her bright red lips, and her face showed embarrassment. The judge thumped his gavel hard. "Silence! Silence!" Qin Lu still didn't know it, and roared with red eyes, "I can't let her testify. She is a liar. A liar! She tricked me into going there." The female judge said impatiently, "Lawyer Chu, if you don't let your client calm down again, I think I can only let the bailiff take her out." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 696. The situation was too unfavorable, and Chu Mingjun immediately understood that it would be difficult to reap benefits today, so he applied to the judge, Your Honor, our witnesses' testimonies before and after the trial are contradictory, and we need time to find out why, so we request an adjournment for another day. Your Honor, the new witness has appeared in court. Attorney Meng, who was defending Zhao Jiawei, objected. Now that he has appeared in court, there is no reason to leave without saying a word of testimony. The judge said, defense witnesses are allowed to speak. Chu Mingjun had no choice but to sit back. Lawyer Meng straightened his clothes, stood up with the corners of his lips curled up, and glanced at Chu Mingjun, with a proud look of winning. Witness, please tell everyone your name and occupation, he asked. Sister Qin was not used to such a solemn occasion. She looked reserved, and her eyes flicked unnaturally. My name is Li Fengqin, and I'm the foreman of Venus Night Club. They usually call me Sister Qin. What is your job description? Satisfy customers, provide them with corresponding services, and meet all requirements of customers. Can you be more specific? Lawyer Meng asked, pointing to Zhao Jiawei, who was seated. For example, when my client, Mr. Zhao Jiawei, goes to your nightclub for leisure, how would you provide him with services? Sister Qin raised her eyes to look at Zhao Jiawei, then she looked apprehensive, and quickly withdrew her gaze. She pursed her lips and replied, Our nightclub will collect the information of all the ladies into the database. What type of woman the customers need, they can search on demand, and they can find what they want. For example, some customers like skin the white ones, some like the more mellow ones, some like those who have practiced gymnastics and have a soft body. I will arrange the ladies to work according to their preferences, and then draw a certain percentage of commission from them. Is this the database you are talking about? Attorney Meng raised a stack of documents in his hand, took out one, and placed it in front of Sister Qin. The remaining materials were distributed to the judge and jury, as well as the prosecution represented by Chu Mingjun. This is a printout of an Excel sheet. The first column is the women's names, followed by their age, height, three-dimensional and other information, and even the monthly menstruation time, presumably for the convenience of customers who need to make reservations. Just like Sister Qin said, some young ladies will specially mark their specialties in the information column. For example, if they look like a certain star, they will be more popular. It was the first time for the judge to see this kind of sale with clearly marked prices, and he sneered, I thought I saw the price list of the vegetable market. On this piece of paper, what she sees is not a living person, but a pile of vegetables, which can be chosen and matched by you, or even combined in a variety of ways, trampling the dignity of women on the soles of their feet, depraved and ugly. Attorney Meng pointed to one of them and continued to ask, Can you explain to us the meaning of this column? In the last column of the table, several star icons are displayed. Each person is different. Sister Qin explained, this is marked according to everyone's wishes. The higher the star rating, the larger the scale and the more rewards. What do you mean by scale? It means, to play more openly, such as going through the back door, binding, props, whipping and so on. Sister Qin paused, and then said, usually there will be a certain degree of violence. Although the risk is higher, the reward correspondingly, it will be higher. Lawyer Meng was even more proud, and pointed to Qin Lu's name and asked Sister Qin, Ms. Qin Lu's star rating is the highest. Can I understand that the service items she provides are the largest? Sister Qin nodded, that's right, that's right. The corner of Lawyer Meng's mouth curled up, he glanced at Chu Mingjun proudly, and said, Your Honor, I'm done asking. The judge tapped the gavel and said expressionlessly, the factual basis of this case is clear and clear. There is no need to waste time in choosing a trial date. Now the court is adjourned for 1 hour and the trial will continue in the afternoon. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 697. Whether it is Zhang Rong's testimony or Sister Qin's testimony, it is enough to prove that Qin Lu's going to the villa to provide services for Zhao Jiawei is completely voluntary. Even if her body was hurt during the service, it was because Qin Lu voluntarily provided high-star service, not being forced. Chu Mingjun did not expect the situation to be reversed like this. A good hand of cards was smashed by him. Even if the court is adjourned for an hour now, what can 1 hour do? It's just time for lunch. He didn't even give up hope for the next injury report. Even if the injury report is submitted as evidence, it may not be effective, because the other party can say that it is a service provided by Qin Lu voluntarily. Qin Lu asked Chu Mingjun, "Lawyer Chu, are we going to lose?" Although Chu Mingjun was full of frustration, he still encouraged her, "Don't worry, even if it doesn't work this time, we still have a chance to appeal. If no favorable new evidence can be found, even if the appeal is made, the original verdict will be upheld." Muzi's rationality at the moment can almost be considered indifferent. Chu Mingjun naturally understood this truth. He was depressed and did not speak. Qin Lu's eyes lost any light. She went to court for money. If she loses the lawsuit, it means that she can't get the money. If she can't get the money, she can't be cured. She is not yet 30 years old, so she is about to die. She doesn't want to die. She hasn't lived enough. For a while, I was very short of money, so I asked Sister Qin to increase the star rating, but later I couldn't take it anymore, so I asked Sister Qin to change it back. Qin Lu said in a daze, with a haggard face, "They put together come and kill me." The information printed out by the other party must have been unchanged, but Qin Lu had no way to prove her innocence. When they walked out of the trial hall, they saw reporters swarming in and surrounded Zhao Jiawei, who was not far away. "Mr. Zhao Jiawei, is it true that you were accused of rape by a nightclub lady? When will the results of this trial be announced? It's been rumored that you have sex addiction, is it true?" Zhao Jiawei's lawyer stopped the reporters and said righteously, "This accusation is completely false. It is malicious extortion. We will never compromise. After the trial is over, we will sue for reputation damage." When Qin Lu heard the lawyer's words, she was filled with anger, burning her internal organs. If the case is lost, she will die. Zhao Jiawei thought she didn't die fast enough, so he wanted to sue her. "You bastard!" Qin Lu's eyes were red, and he rushed forward, "Coward! Do you dare to admit it? You still have my mother's hair in your wallet. What are you pretending to be? Come on, come and sue me. I will keep none of the things you did and shake them out. If you have the guts, sue me." The reporters approached Qin Lu like flies smelling the fishy smell. The cameras kept clicking, and the microphones all moved closer to Qin Lu's mouth. Zhao Jiawei's face was livid, and he shouted in panic, "Tell her to shut up." Qin Lu was hysterical, like a desperate person, completely smashed and smashed. She is going to die. People who are about to die always have a kind of bravery that normal people can't understand. The scene was in chaos, and the bailiff rushed over to maintain order. In the chaos, Zhao Jiawei's bodyguard punched Qin Lu. In the nick of time, Chu Mingjun pulled Qin Lu back, received a hard blow on the cheek, and was immediately knocked down to the ground. In Chu Mingjun's mouth, there was a rusty smell, and the dark red blood spots fell on the ground. Some people exclaimed at the scene, and some reporters continued to shoot at Chu Mingjun. Fu Shao became angry and beat up innocent lawyers. This is also a very good news headline. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 698. Seeing Chu Mingjun being beaten, Qin Lu stayed where she was, and slowly regained her sanity. Mu Ziyi and another trainee lawyer helped Chu Mingjun up. Marshals took control of the scene and one of them came over and asked if they needed to go to the hospital. Chu Mingjun held his cracked lips and shook his head. There is only 1 hour before the trial, and they have to quickly come up with a coping strategy, and they don't know how much time they will waste going to the hospital. Mu Ziyi handed him a tissue. Chu Mingjun spread his hands and looked down. His hands were full of bright red blood. The bailiff was kind enough to lead them to a lounge, in order to avoid any impulsiveness between them and Zhao Jiawei's people before the trial. Zhao Jiawei's bodyguard was strong, while Chu Mingjun was weak, and he punched him for a long time. His nose and mouth were bleeding to varying degrees, but the bleeding stopped after being rinsed with cold water, and his nose and face were still bruised and swollen ugly. Qin Lu felt sorry for him, and regretted, "I won't fight, Lawyer Chu, I won't fight this lawsuit. Barefoot is not afraid of wearing shoes. If he doesn't give me a way out, I'll reveal all about him." "Aren't you in a hurry to use money for surgery?" Chu Mingjun said. "Don't worry, I will try my best to help you get compensation." Chu Mingjun's mind was spinning quickly. The crime of rape obviously cannot be established. In this case, he can only take a step back and try to win the crime of negligent injury. After all, they still have the injury report in hand. It is not a money transaction that can completely shirk responsibility. It's just that in this way, the compensation that can be won will be less. Chu Mingjun was a little uncertain. He subconsciously raised his head to look for Mu Ziyi, wanting to hear her opinion. Mu Ziyi was standing by the window, calling Murong Cheng. Murong Cheng did not come to today's trial, but reserved a table at a high-end restaurant in Jingling City, waiting to celebrate them. Murong Cheng didn't like to go to places like courts and police stations, and felt very unlucky. "Can you still contact the hacker from last time?" Mu Ziyi asked him. "It's the fat one." Murong Cheng was keen, and immediately knew that something was wrong with Mu Ziyi, and asked, "What do we need to investigate?" "The lady from the Venus nightclub in Jingling City, her name is Zhang Rong, she was supposed to be our witness, but she turned her back temporarily," Mu Ziyi said. "She said that she and Qin Lu were together on Fusion Road on July 30th, but she must have been elsewhere that day, and I need her alibi." After a slight pause, Mu Ziyi added, "There are still 45 minutes for the court session. Their time is running out." Murong Cheng hung up the phone without saying a word, and went to help her contact the hacker. Mu Ziyi ended the call, took out a few sheets from the injury report, and handed them to Chu Mingjun's trainee lawyer, asking him to print a few more copies. "The clearer the better, the medical expenses will be magnified here so that the jury can see it clearly at a glance." The lawyers of Mingjun law firm respected Mu Ziyi very much. Hearing this, he immediately took the materials and hurriedly went out to print them. Chu Mingjun looked at the little evidence left in front of him, and thought of the witnesses who betrayed him one after another, and sighed in frustration, "I was careless." He felt very sorry for Qin Lu. He was so useless when the other party forced him to have nowhere to go in a case that was sure enough. Mu Ziyi looked down at the form sent by the other party's lawyer just now, and heard Chu Mingjun's annoyed voice, and comforted him, "It's not your carelessness, we are new here, but they occupy the right time, place, and people." She put down the materials in her hand and said to Chu Mingjun, "After the court session in the afternoon, you apply to the judge to speak on your behalf, and I will defend you." Chu Mingjun was stunned for a moment, and said, "Okay. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 699. The court was adjourned for an hour, and they were in turmoil, and they only had 2 quick bites for lunch. When the court was about to start, Murong Cheng gave a clue, On the afternoon of July 30th, a sum of 800 yuan was credited to Zhang Rong's bank account. If there is income, it means that there is business. It's a pity that the money was not directly transferred from the client to Zhang Rong, but was transferred to Zhang Rong through the nightclub's public account after a certain percentage of commission was drawn. The hacker found the bill of the nightclub account, but it took a longer time to simulate and calculate if he wanted to find out which customer paid Zhang Rong's 800 yuan. Murong Cheng said, "Can I apply for an extension of the trial? If it takes another half an hour, I should be able to find out where she went that day. The other party probably won't give us this chance." Muzi looked down at the time and said calmly, "Don't worry, this evidence is enough." When the trial was held again, the judge saw the injury on Chu Mingjun's face, frowned and asked, "Do you need to go to the hospital?" "Lawyer Chu, you can apply for a postponement of the retrial." Lawyer Meng immediately stood up, "Your Honor, the facts are now very clear. I think we should not waste the jury's time. Since the opposing lawyer is in poor health, it is better to pronounce the verdict directly." The judge looked at Chu Mingjun. "Lawyer Chu, what's your opinion?" Chu Mingjun covered his injured half of his lips, and looked down at Muzi beside him. "Your Honor, I want to apply. My assistant will speak for me." When he spoke, his lips parted slightly and he pulled the wound, and bright red blood dripped from the corner of his mouth again, which made the female judge frowned. "Okay," the judge tapped the gavel and said with a frown, "Considering the special situation of the plaintiff's lawyer, the court's authorized assistant lawyer can speak instead. Does the defendant's lawyer have any objections?" "Of course, we have no objection at all." Attorney Meng glanced at Chu Mingjun with a smile. "Thank you very much for your understanding. You know, my client is very busy. If I choose another date for the trial, I don't know how much delay it will take." Chu Mingjun smiled faintly, sat down covering his wound, and stopped speaking. From everyone's point of view, Chu Mingjun asked his assistant to fight the lawsuit on his behalf, which obviously meant giving up. Even if you lose the lawsuit, you can still use the assistant lawyer's failure to perform well as an excuse to make yourself a step down without being too embarrassing. At this moment, Muzi beside Chu Mingjun stood up. Everyone was taken aback. Everyone subconsciously thought that it would be Chu Mingjun's other assistant lawyer, that young man in his 20s. Why is it a little girl instead? What did Chu Mingjun think? Broken cans? Your Honor, in view of the inconsistencies in the testimony of our witnesses, I hope to ask again, Muzi said. She looks immature and cute, but she has a calm and sophisticated appearance, and her speech is serious, which makes Lawyer Meng and Zhao Jiawai laugh, as if she is playing house. Some people in the spectators were moved by the laughter, and they also laughed. Bang, bang. The female judge knocked the gavel expressionlessly. Her tone was sharp and mean. "People who love to laugh must have come to the wrong place. They should go to the circus, where you can laugh all day long." Lawyer Meng put away his smile embarrassingly, and winked at Zhao Jiawai who was beside him, and both of them restrained themselves. "Anyone who laughs again will be arrested for contempt of court." The female judge scanned the audience and said coldly, "Now, Zhang Rong, the plaintiff's witness, will appear in court." Zhang Rong spoke in court again. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 700. Muzi asked aloud, "Zhang Rong, according to what you said just now, on July 30th, you and Qin Lu provided Zhao Jiawai with a full set of double flying services. We already knew what happened to double flying. Can you explain it? What does the full package include?" Objection. Attorney Meng stood up slowly, his eyes full of disdain. "I object to the content that has nothing to do with this case." "Of course it's related to this case." Muzi didn't even look over there, and looked directly at the judge with firm eyes, "because what the witness said is diametrically opposed to what my client said. I think it's necessary to ask clearly." The judge pondered for a moment, and said, "The assistant lawyer is allowed to continue asking questions." Mu Zi asked Zhang Rong again, "What does the full set of services include?" Zhang Rong twitched the corner of her mouth, and replied, "The whole set is to do it all, usually speaking first and then doing it. If customers need it, there are also roaming and chest pushing. So the full service requires undressing, right?" Mu Zi asked. Zhang Rong smiled, thinking that the question Mu Zi asked was really ridiculous. How could she not take off her clothes when doing such a thing? "Little sister, in our line of business." Mu Zi interrupted her coldly, "You just have to answer me yes, or no, yes, or no." Zhang Rong choked, feeling embarrassed, bit her lip and replied, "Yes." "Did Zhao Jiawai take off his clothes too?" Mu Zi asked. Zhang Rong frowned, subconsciously raised her head to look at Zhao Jiawai, worried that she said something wrong. "Witness, what are you looking at?" Mu Zi pursued. "You said you were there that day, don't you even remember whether the defendant was wearing any clothes?" "Clothes, of course he took off his clothes." Zhang Rong lowered her head again in embarrassment. "Is the defendant Zhao Jiawai an important client of your nightclub?" Mu Zi asked again. Zhang Rong said, "Mr. Zhao spends a lot of money, he often comes to patronize." "Witness," Mu Zi raised her voice and said coldly, "Please answer yes or no." Zhang Rong was ashamed, "Yes. He is our very important customer." "Did Qin Lu volunteer to go with you that day?" "Yes." "Qin Lu didn't show any resistance during the whole service process?" "Yes." "Is Zhao Jiawai satisfied with your service that day?" "Yes." "Have you spoken for him?" "Yes." "Is he circumcised?" Zhang Rong's eyes widened in astonishment, and she was dumbfounded for a while. "What's the matter, witness?" Mu Zi looked at her expressionlessly, with a sharp edge in the corner of her eyes. "What are you hesitating about?" "Can't answer." I don't remember." Zhang Rong became angry from embarrassment. "Since you spoke for him, why don't you know if he's circumcised?" "I see countless of these things every day." "How can I remember them so clearly?" Zhang Rong shouted angrily. "But Zhao Jiawai is different. He is an important guest of your nightclub, isn't he?" Mu Zi's brows were sharp and cold. "You were not in Zhao Jiawai's villa at all that day. You only rushed after Qin Lu called for help. Go to Fusion Road, so you went to the hospital together. Qin Lu was covered in cuts and bruises, but you were intact." Mu Zi said word by word, "Zhang Rong, in order to please the Zhao family, you even gave false testimony." "Objection! Objection!" Attorney Meng stood up angrily. "I object to the assistant lawyer's pressure on the witness. I object to the assistant lawyer's inducing the witness to give unfavorable testimony. Your Honor, I'm done with my questioning." Mu Zipinting stood there, with a cold expression, so calm that there was no wave. "I want to question the defense witness Li Fengqin." The female judge looked at Mu Zi with profound eyes, full of inquiry. "The defense witnesses are invited to testify in court after a while," the judge said.